Hi, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about knowledge and what knowing means, and that would come into also what the truth and reality is. Uh, to keep it simply, what most people think or believe they know is not really the case. Uh, most people know very little and believe a lot. Like for example, an easy example would be, I could say, I know my name is such and such. Not telling you yet. So I know my name is John Smith. And the counter to that would be, well, how do you know? And I could go anything from the range of least objective to most objective, being, well, that's what I remember my name being. That's what it's always been. That's what my family calls me. That's what my mother and father told me my name is. All of that doesn't objectively prove that your name is John Smith. So you could say, well, that's not proof enough. So you could go get your driver's license. Okay, well, that's an official document. And that driver's license would be based on another form of identification or whatever process it is in your country. So you could say, well, what about a birth certificate, right? So a birth certificate would probably be the most definitive way to know and prove that your name would be John Smith. Because at your time of birth, the parents who had you, or however the process went, gave you that name and it was registered in your country or authority where it is. So legally, which is what really a name is your legal identifier, at least in today's world, that would be it. I know my name is so-and-so because I can go to the government office, ask for even a new birth certificate or name certificate, and it comes back and it says John Smith. Good, okay, so I can know my name is John Smith. Then there are other things which would fall into the category of you don't know, you believe. And I'll use the example of, let's say, oxygen. Well, I know I'm breathing oxygen right now. Well, how do you know? Well, I'm breathing in air. I have lungs and they fill up with air, and in the air there's oxygen because that's what needs to go into my body to get perfused into my blood and energizes and does all its other bits in my body. But how do you know that there is oxygen in the air that you breathe? And most people, a mass majority of people would have to admit they don't. You don't know. You've been told that there's oxygen in the air and that your body needs oxygen and that you breathe it into your lungs and perfuse it. And you either choose to believe that, which most of us do, it sounds sensible enough, but the vast majority of us, and by vast majority, and I'll explain this now, I mean that the people who cannot examine this as a fact of reality for themselves, okay? That means you don't have the education, the intellect, the discerning wisdom, the equipment, and the ability to test and proof test all these accepted things about oxygen. So you would have to be a chemistry professor, laboratory person, assistant that understands and can observe chemical molecules like oxygen, have the equipment, have access to the equipment to be able to observe and split and isolate those chemicals. Let's just use oxygen. And to know that the equipment that you are using is doing what it is said to be doing. So you would also have to understand the makeup, function, and processes of the equipment that you're using. Because the equipment could be observing something that is not oxygen. So there is so much that you would need to understand and have a full grasp on, not just believe, because you couldn't be the chemist student or laboratory professor, whatever it is, and believe that the equipment you're using is isolating an oxygen atom and observe it through whatever processes that is, using electron microscope or whatever. and go, look, there it is, oxygen, and I can even see by the fact that it's got two H2O, two hydrogen atoms in it. No, that's water. Two oxygen atoms makes oxygen. Anyway, because if you don't know what the machine is doing, how it gets to that point, and what it's observing or isolating, then you could not say for sure, you could not know what you're observing and therefore understanding about reality. So even at that high level degree, there is so much you need to comprehend and understand about reality and how things work to know that oxygen is a thing, and it is a thing that then is inhaled into the lungs and then perfused through the lungs. And of course, then you need to go into the biology side of that. Sure, oxygen exists, but is that what the body is perfusing, absorbing, and then going into the bloodstream? So you would have to have another gamut of knowledge in regards to biology. And again, knowing all of the equipment that you use to get those things, because of course the human eyes can't observe naturally these particles, chemicals, right? And I can understand that most people, especially people who are in the field, not that I'd say they're watching this video, wonderful if they are, but would their brains would start to get frustrated, and most people's ego would kick in and their pride, because they're like, no, because they would then take the word of, just because I don't understand biology, I am that chemistry major mega brain who can know how the machine works, this, that, and the other. Sure, I know oxygen exists, but then I have to trust the word of my other colleague who is a biology mega brain scientist who has observed and done all these things to know that oxygen is this specific chemical that's being taken into the bloodstream of the body to do its bit. It's still something you don't know. It's something that you believe about what he says, because you don't have the capacity to observe a reality for what it is. It's still a fact of trust and belief. So to summarize that a bit more, and to use maybe a simpler example, is that, well, I know I have a brain, and I know my brain does the thinking and it controls the rest of my body. No, you don't. Now, you can know you have a brain. You'll be like, I'll prove it to you by cutting someone else's. Well, technically, that wouldn't prove that you have a brain. It proved that another person who is a human being has one. But let's just use axioms and Occam's razor, which would just be, let's just use common sense and the fact that another human has a brain, you're a human. Well, most likely, it's still, you can border the fence of, well, do you know that? Not technically, right? But let's be sensible here. Another human has a brain. Well, there's a brain and it's in the head. Okay, cool. And you can even pull the thing out and then the human shuts down. You're like, okay, well, it's very important. But can you prove, can you know that your brain does all the things that you have been taught and believe it does? No. No is the answer. Until you are able to observe and comprehend what you are observing in reality, you have to take someone else's word for it. Like all these trees around me, right? How do trees grow? You have no idea. Actually, that's not true. You probably don't know. You probably have an idea, but you almost certainly don't know. You've been taught, okay, well, you get sun, you get light, and from the radiation and the UV of the sun, they have green leaves and they have chlorophyll and does all this, and water particles sucks up. Yeah. You haven't observed that. Almost guaranteeably, the person I'm talking right now has not observed that in detail. You'll be like, oh, I put water in the plant. No, it's not enough. I mean the whole process. Because reality isn't one step. Reality isn't one piece of comprehension. Because you can zoom into reality, zoom in, right? And we still don't know how far we can zoom in because we can't do that yet. And reality is working constantly at that level, that Planck level and beyond, possibly. That's Planck level is just the smallest point that you think space can take up. All the way up to the universe scale level, reality is working in that, within that, and all together, all the time. So you can't understand one point of it. Oh, water goes into plant, plant grows. Well, technically you could do that to 1,000 plants and one of them probably won't grow. And you'll go, why? Obviously water in plant doesn't mean plant grows. No, because it's a very complicated thing. So, to try and simplify it again, there is so much. I'm going to say the vast majority. I don't want to put percentages because it doesn't make a lot of sense. The vast, huge majority of what you know, you don't. Like the sun. Let's say the sun. You know the sun is this big ball of energy. A million miles away. You don't know that. You've not been there. You've not seen it. You've not measured it. You've not touched it. You've not taken the chemical compounds of it. You haven't seen the core of it. Nor have any of these scientists, by the way. No one has been on the sun. I know there are ways to measure something's I believe, see, I nearly fell for it myself. I believe there are ways, and it makes sense, to measure something's chemical composition from a distance. Anyway, complicating it again. What I'm saying, and I hope it's clear, I don't want to keep going around in the circles, but I find that it helps to give multiple examples. There is so much, vast majority, that you don't know. And I wanted to make this the first video that I get into and talk about. Because unless you have that wisdom to comprehend how little you know, it's like the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. Until you have that comprehension of, I don't know that. Right? Like this, my shirt here is premium, 100% Australian cotton. That's what it says on the tag at least. But I do not know that it is. Oh, message. I do not know that. I have to believe what is on that tag, believe the manufacturer of the sales group who makes this shirt, that it is what they say there is. Okay? And I'm sure at least most people in their lifetime have come across a product, a person, a concept, a scientific fact at the time that has been said to be something and then proven that it wasn't. I'm sure most of us can relate to a food product that says it's this, that, and the other, and then some person does some tests on it, and you know what? That's a load of baloney. It doesn't have this, and it doesn't have that, and its protein count that it says, it's a third of that, whatever, right? Because you are trusting in what you've been told, because you as an individual, like me as an individual, do not have the capability nor the capacity to be able to prove that is a factual thing. We can't do that. So you don't know, oh, I know this is healthy for me. I know this has got 30 grams of protein or whatever it is. I know this is Australian cotton. No, you don't. No, I don't. And until you come to realize that, and I'll be straight up, I don't think I know anyone else besides one person. That's my wife. Thanks be to God. One person that is willing to do that consistently, that has that ingrained, like as a foundation. I feel that even when you get to that point with people where they're like, oh yeah, that's true, I guess, it doesn't stick. A day later, a week later, you'll talk to them and they'll be like, oh, did you see that Donald Trump did this? Well, you're making a statement, did a thing, and you weren't even there. You didn't even witness it. You're taking someone else's word for it. You might have just seen a photo and a caption on an article, and that's enough for you to believe that you know what Donald Trump did. That's not knowing. That's not it. But that's how so many people operate. And maybe it's because people enjoy the possibility or the idea that they know things. They know more than they really do. It makes them feel good and puffed up and intelligent. What I'm saying is that is how most of humanity works. Making statements about things they think they know that they don't. So their statement has no value. Their knowledge of the thing has no value. So this then goes into the conundrum of reality. Now, I want to say this real hard and real clear. There is only one reality, right? Until somebody can definitively prove otherwise, which no, you can't. I can't actually say that. Until someone definitively proves otherwise, which I'll be waiting, there is only one reality. There is only one truth. There is only one thing that happens, right? And I don't want to hear anyone's talking about Schrodinger's cat. Oh, the cat is alive and dead at the same time. No, that is a lack of understanding about how reality works, right? That is because you cannot prove that thing to have happened, and it's an idea. It's a possibility. It is not reality, okay? It may be, I should say, it could be, but as far as we understand, it is not. It is not been proven, and it is accepted in some places. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the tree is on fire and not on fire at the same time. The cat is dead and alive at the same time. And for people who don't understand what I'm talking about with Schrodinger's cat, it's got to do with quantum physics. Don't worry about it. That's why I kind of brought it up for the people who might be sitting there and be like, oh, but wait. But that, for most people, ignore that. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is I am sitting here right now in my vehicle in a certain location making this video, and that's it. Someone could drive past me and they could believe they saw a different person in a different vehicle doing something that's not making a video, just talking to themselves like a crazy person, which I feel like right now, talking to a camera. And they might go and tell someone, because that's what this person's observed. Someone drives past, like there was a guy, and I'll just say what my car is. It's grey, I'm me, and I'm on my phone. But someone might drive past and think they saw someone else sitting in a black car talking to themselves, possibly on drugs. I'm not on drugs. And they might go and tell someone that and be like, oh, I saw so-and-so in their black car talking to themselves. I really think we should talk to that person because, they need help. That's not what happened. That is not reality. Even though that person perceived that and remembers that, or that's what their cognitive capacity came up with from what their eyes showed them in that quick drive-by, not this one, just driving by, that's not reality. It's someone's misperception of reality. There is only one type of reality. So humble yourself and take the time to realize that what I'm saying is not an opinion, it's not subjective, it's not difficult or a thought experiment. It just is reality. That is the case for most of humanity, because that's how humanity works. We know very little. We trust what other people tell and teach us, which means we believe them, which basically means that most of our life is lived in faith. We have faith in what that person is telling us, or what we see in the news, or what we are taught. Realize that. Realize that. It is still a belief system, like religion. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have questions that you would like me to answer or talk about, if they're a simple yes or no question, I'll just leave a comment reply to that question, or if it's a simple sentence reply, I can just do that. But if the answer warrants more in-depth discussion, I can make a video on it. Also, if you have topic suggestions, you're welcome to share those, and if I find them interesting, I can make a video on those as well. I hope you have a good day, evening, whatever it is. I hope to see you again in another video. See ya.